Namah Shivaya children. As we are discussing about the resources, this video log is all about what is the classification of resources. As we all know, resources can be classified according to various broader terms based on their sources, based on their uses, based on their ownership. But first primarily we will be discussing about the classification of the resources based on the origin, that is biotic and abiotic. Then based on the exhaustibility. What do you understand by the term exhaustibility? Exhaustibility implies that a resources have a finite terms of consumption. Say for example petrol, natural gas, coal. These resources are primarily concerned, when we indiscriminately use the resources, they tend to finish it out, and we will be at the end of a certain day we will be not using, we will be staring at the sky simply that is our petroleum has finished, natural gas has finished, coal has finished. So based on the exhaustibility, the resources can be classified as renewable and non-renewable resource. And then based on the ownership, ownership means what is the resources we own, that is private, that is individual, and then joint. To be very elaborate, the resources that can be classified on the basis of ownership are individual, community, national, and international. I repeat, on the basis of ownership, resources are classified as individual, community, national, and international. On the basis of status of development, the resources can be classified as potential, developed, and reserve or stock. On the basis of the status of the development of the resources, potential, developed, reserve, or stock. So based on these parameters, we classify the resources. Now let us go into each and everything in detail. Biotic resources are obtained from the biosphere. For example, resources that can be obtained from fisheries, forests, sea, that can be replenished. So these are known as the biotic resources. Abiotic resources are the resources that we obtain from the earth, or that is they are not non-living things, rocks, minerals. So they are classified as abiotic resources. Then the second term of the classification of the resources is exhaustibility, that is renewable and non-renewable. Renewable resources are the wind energy, solar energy, tidal energy, that is it is renewed every day, or every time it is renewed. Sun never stops to sun never gives stops to lighten us. Wind never sometimes the force of the wind is so high that it can turn the turbines or the windmills. Tidal energy, as you progress into your 5th to 6th chapter, you will study what are the types of tidal energy and geothermal energy. Then non-renewable, as I told you, non-renewable resources are the resources that have a finite lifetime, or they can be exhausted within a few period of time. For example, natural gas, coal, petroleum, they have a finite terms of exhaustibility. They get exhausted within a few years. So we have to very much cautious while we are using it. Then on the status of development, that is potential, developed, reserve, or stock. Potential resources are the type which have a potential in it. That is, we know there are reserves are there inside the earth's crust, we can use it. So for example of iron ore, copper, mica, limestone. So these are the resources that are lay inside the earth's crust. We can utilize it as per our need. Then the other type of resources are developed. Developed resources are like gold, silver. Human beings have known to harness their importance. Gold and silver are nowadays the used in are used in computer chips, microprocessors due to their highly ductility or malleability. They can be rolled into thin sheets, or to be very broader sense, they are used in jewelries. So these resources come into the term in the category of developed resources. Then reserve or stock. They children, reserve, stock and potential, they are synonymous to each other. Reserve and stock. Reserve resources are there inside the earth's crust and they can be potentially used as a resources, whereas stock are the resources that we know they are having a definite quantity and we can plan it or we can schedule it as per our own needs. So stock resource, so in the question there will be a very important question, what is the basic difference between reserve resource and stock resource? Are you clear? Reserve resources are the resources that is there and we utilize it simultaneously, whereas stock resources are the quantitative resources that we have calculated, and we know these type of resources are existing inside the earth's crust, and we will be planning properly for proper utilization of these stock resources. Okay, in the next is the individual. There is classification of the resources based on the ownership. Classification of the resources based on the ownership are individual, community, then national and international. Individual resources are the resources that are owned by an individual. Suppose I owned a land, and in the land if God bless, I got a pot of gold. Then these resources I will not share with anyone. So these known as individual resources. And community based resources. Community based resources are the resource. Suppose a pond is shared with a village, or in a small taluka, the pond is shared by all the people. Now the pond is acting as a resources and it is utilized by all the people of the community. Whatever the fish, the output of the pond, that is shared by the community. So this is a very much apt example of community based resource. Then national resource. National resource are the resources or the minerals, the both renewable and non-renewable resource that comes under the territorial boundary of a country. This is known as national resource. Coal, natural gas, minerals, irons. So these are constitute as the minerals resources that are within the finite boundary of a country. Then international resource. International resource this is a very important term that is nowadays having lot of ambiguity within themselves. Lot of countries claim to ownership of these resources. That is, these resources are not yet harnessed, but rather they are in a stock. They can be turned into the category of stock resources. Stock resources like in Antarctica, Greenland, where human habitation is not at all possible. Scientists claim that Antarctica has around 9 cubic million feet of oil and crude oil reserves. Still, so all the countries, all the communities, they will stake a claim on that oil or on that crude oil. So this is known as an resources having an international ownership. Then in the next class, we will discuss about the next important topic, that is the sustainable development. I hope you understand these concepts. If you have any doubt, please call to me or write your comments in the comment box. Thank you. Namah Shivaya.